Hey, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my ultra foldable, collapsible workshop table that I've built here. But before we do that, we'll head up to the office and I'll walk you through some of the design and inspiration for this project. So let's go. Okay, so here we are in the office. I got a couple of things up on the screen for this project that I'd like to share with you, so let's have a look. All right, so when I started sort of brainstorming this project build, I started out with Pinterest. You can check out my Pinterest account at Visual Spicer. And then I have a board called Workshop there where I collected sort of a lot of different ideas that I had in mind that I wanted to try out. But for the table specifically, I was really inspired by these two projects that I found online. And here's a closer look at both of them. One is this foldable table, which this guy created here. You may have seen this. This is a pretty popular video, but it's basically very similar to what I came up with there. The only difference is between mine and his is that his caster wheels are mounted right to the ends of the legs, as you see here. So to get the idea for the flippy wheels, I was really inspired by DK's Crafts YouTube channel. This is one of my favorite woodworking channels. You guys should check it out if you haven't. But this video specifically, let's take a look here. So that having that little optional folding piece there was my inspiration for mounting the wheels the way that I did. So then we'll switch over to Sketch. And speaking of Sketch, I did a little bit of sketching of the table. Nothing too crazy or fancy there. Just a couple of ideas. So here in Sketch is where I created my very precise design for the table. I'm using the free web version of SketchUp. And basically I just laid out all of my measurements and the specific materials that I wanted to work with. So I knew that I had a space of 6 by 3 feet to work with on the wall. So that's what I used for this top surface of the table. And then from there, I created my single component for a 2x4 board, and I just kind of replicated that along all the other pieces for creating the frame, for creating the legs, this little bracket here for the wheels. I found, let's see if we go back to my Pinterest right here. So this is the 4-inch caster wheel that I found at Home Depot, which I kind of roughly mocked up over here to get the general size of how that would mount. I just made a quick little duplicate of the table just to see how that piece would flip over to have an extension on the wheels. And just to take a quicker look, if I hide this top, you can kind of see the assembly inside with how I rounded off the table legs to make sure that this area would allow me to pivot the legs back and forth. And this is the little hinge using, again, the plywood sheet, which I would use for hanging the stretcher once the table is upright on the wall. And let me really quick bring that back. Okay, so then I created all of my measurements for all the different pieces there. Made another copy of the stretcher here, measured all that out. Did a really quick mock-up of the wall mounting system, just really basic, and I sort of modified this a little bit during the actual build. But there you go. That was the SketchUp design that I used to create the table. Alright, so that was a quick look at the design of this project. Now we'll head into the garage and look at the actual build. So the reason why I decided to make this foldable table in the first place is because I have my little workshop area here, which I assembled this year. And then I got a new miter saw, which I started using for some of my latest woodworking projects. And there's really not a whole lot of place to put the miter saw on here. And I don't have kind of an overhang. I didn't really think about that when I created this table. So I would be doing a lot of things right on the garage floor. And I basically got tired of doing that after a while. So I decided that I need something which is easy to store and is out of the way so I can still park my car in here. Alright, so here we go. I got the table build here. Basically, with the construction of this thing, I tried to stick to pretty basic materials to try to keep the cost down. So I've got 3/4 inch premium plywood for the top here, and I'll show that in detail once I flip it down. And then pretty much everything else is either plywood, like this reinforcement beam, or 2x4s for the frame and the legs. I did get 4-inch caster wheels, which I really love that I got the 4-inch size, because I had the option of 3 and 5-inch at Home Depot, and I feel like this size fits it really well. And the cool thing about it is that even as we can see this wheel hanging down over here, I can flip it back up like this and engage the brake, and it'll just keep itself upright like that, just in case I want to tuck it out of the way. Usually I just let it kind of hang loose like that. So the main reason why I wanted to have this foldable wheel system, it was a combination of a couple things. One is that if I didn't have it, the actual wheel would be attached, so the leg would end right here, and the wheel would always be fixed to the end of the leg right here, which means that the actual table height would be 7 inches shorter. So with this, it actually extends the length of the leg. See, it wouldn't be able to fit if I had it mounted to the leg here unless the leg was shortened. But this extends the entire length of the leg, which means that with the wheels flipped out, the table height is actually 7 inches taller. And also, if we look at these wheels here, even with the brake engaged, there's still a lot of wobble over here, and you can imagine that happening across all 4 wheels. And what I wanted to do is eliminate all of that wobble, and actually have the option to do that by placing the table legs right on this flat surface, being right on the floor. Do you have anything to say about my table? No. No? You like it? Yeah. Nice. It opens fairly easily. I've got these are 1/2-inch bolts that I have running through as the leg hinge right here, with just a locking washer over here. So I feel like that worked pretty good. So the stretcher here, I liked from the designs that I saw online, I really liked having the stretcher here in the middle of the table. I saw a few guys that put it up above the fastener system up on the wall, but I kind of like it how it sits there in the middle and the legs just fold over it. But basically, to hang the stretcher, I just took a square piece of 3/4 inch plywood, and I just cut an L slot into it, and this way the stretcher, this L slot in the stretcher, which fits into this little slot at the bottom of the legs, so that just easily slides right into the storage compartment right there. And on the other side, it's not going anywhere whenever I pull the table down, so that's in there pretty well. One thing that I'd like to point out on this build, which I thought went really well, is that I used my new Kreg pocket hole jig to create these holes here right along the entire frame, which is then mounted to the top surface of the table. I did put glue around the perimeter of the frame, but then I used 1 1/4 inch screws to drive into these pocket holes, which really helped to attach the surface, the tabletop, down to the frame. I don't think I could have done that any better without the pocket hole jig. For this supporting bracket, which is connected to the top portion of both of the legs, I did add one tiny addition which I really like. It's these little bumper pads that you would put on the bottom of the legs of your furniture so they don't scratch the hardwood floor. But I put a few of these on here, as you can see right here, and what that does, when I open up the legs and that support meets with the bottom frame at the top of the table, there is it provides a little bit of dampening there. It's really hard to see, but it kind of acts as a little bumper to help close that gap in between the two planes right there. And it pushes the legs away, which provides additional tension for the stretcher when it sits in. For this top fastener area here, I've seen designs where people made like this really large flappy hinge out of plywood up here. I wanted to go with something a little bit more subtle, so I came up with the idea of using 3-inch, this is a bolt lock, I believe. So I got 2 of those. I changed from my original design from just having one in the middle. And because the majority of the weight of the table is sitting down on that 2x4 mounted on the wall over here, the bolt locks actually do very little work when the table is folded and sitting upright. So as you can see here, I can disengage one of them and it's still sitting upright, and I feel like it's fairly secure. Let's see. Yeah, being held just by a single bolt lock. Yeah, so I feel like that fastening system worked out pretty well. I don't know if I would have done it different. Okay, so that's the 2x4 that I used to support the table from below. I didn't feel the need to have it extend all the way across the entire table. I actually used this piece because I believe I had it laying around and it was already cut to that size, so I just decided to go with it. But what was the most important thing is to get it fastened to 3 studs in the wall. And then I used, I can't remember the size of this this screw. It's pretty heavy duty. And it was, I believe, 4.5 inches long, because I wanted to make sure that it would go through the 2x4, through the drywall, and then a couple inches into the wall stud, just to make sure that this is on here, because the table does have quite a bit of weight to it. And as you can see here, I'm already attaching some of my other tools to it, so it's going to be, even with the table down, I still get that nice space to where I can hang a few tools and kind of use that as additional storage. Here's a closer look at the hinging system that I created for the flippy wheel. So this is a 3-inch just regular door hinge that I picked up at Home Depot. And one thing that I had to do here, which was not apparent to me when I did the design in SketchUp, is that because the hinge has this 1/4 inch pivot point over here, I needed to cut out a 1/4 inch slot out of the leg for this to be completely flush with the bottom surface of the legs. Otherwise, this would be sticking up and this surface would not be sitting on the floor like I wanted to. So once I took out that wood, got the hinge placed in there, the other thing that I had to do when I mounted this 2x4 with the wheels to the other side of the hinge is stick a few washers in there to offset it like that. And it makes sense when I close it down. So this way, let me try it on this side. So this way, when I do close this 2x4 right here, it becomes completely flush with the bottom surface of that leg. And it's really important that this 2x4 was offset from the hinge in order to get that. Otherwise, if I was to close it, it would be angled like that. Now that I finished building this table, I think there is one thing that I could have done different on these hinges. I'm pretty sure that instead of mounting them to the bottom area of the leg here, I could have just mounted the hinge flat like this with one piece on this end of the leg and then one piece on this 2x4, and it would still probably open and close just like the way it does right now, but I'm pretty sure that way I wouldn't have to do this entire cutout there. But it's already assembled and it works, so what can you do? That's just a lesson. Just wanted to point it out in case any of you decide to build this, to give that a try. Okay, here's a quick look below the table of everything engaged and sitting down. So that is the stretcher right there, going all the way across to the other side. I came up with this system where the stretcher is attached to this 2x4, which works really awesome because this little hook hole is actually on the opposite side and it's not touching the floor when this whole thing is flipped back. And what this does is it also keeps the stretcher securely pulled down and in place so that it won't slip up when I'm rolling the table around or anything like that. So that worked out really well. But one thing that I did do to the tabletop itself, which I'm really glad I did, is sand the entire outer edge just to get rid of that really sharp edge, give it a nice smooth finish. And I even went over the table corners a little bit with my sander just to make it a little bit more friendly and less dangerous on the corners. Okay, and here I'll do a quick demonstration of how easy it is to engage the brakes when the wheels are down. So just press down on that with my foot. Like that. And there's that. And then if I want to disengage it, just flip it back up. And it's ready to roll away. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to check out the list of tools and materials that I've listed for this project down in the video description. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about anything in this project that I might be able to answer again. If you haven't already, please also do check out this other related video which I have where I show a time-lapse video of how I built this entire thing from start to finish. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.